Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast for champions of public education. Here we explore the connection between leadership, teaching, and learning, and reveal the keys to getting better results for all students. Each episode highlights a change maker who's turning vision into action and creating schools where both educators and students thrive. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Wendy York Davoud. And joining us today, we have Dr. Michelle Kuss-Cybula, the Superintendent of Oak Harbor Public Schools in the great state of Washington. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be here today.
It's awesome to have you. You know, we've had leaders from several states on the show, but Washington is a first.
Yay.
So, yay, you get to be the pioneer of this frontier.
It's
So,
a pleasure.
welcome. Will you start by giving our audience a brief introduction of yourself?
Okay, well, I'll make it very short. This is my 35th year in public education, and I've had many roles, starting in the state of New York, where I was born and raised, my husband and I. I grew up in a very small rural community. You could walk from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade without leaving our building.
Oh,
So when I
wow.
say small, it was small. And then I went off to Buffalo State University, got my undergrad degree, started teaching in New York, and I taught elementary and high school. And then we moved out west to Oregon, and then I got my admin degree there. And so I taught in Oregon for a couple of years. And then my husband said, one day we're moving. And I'm like, yay, we're moving back to the East Coast. He said, no, further north. So we moved to Washington State. And I finished my degrees in both superintendency as well as my doctorate degree. So I am now
Okay.
a school superintendent, and this is my 8th year as a school superintendent in public schools.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for your service. 35 years. That's a long career serving students and families.
Yeah.
I have to ask, you mentioned that you worked as an elementary school teacher and then a high school teacher. That's interesting. What inspired you to shift from elementary to high school?
Yeah, great question. So I started my master's degree in teaching curriculum and instruction, but with a focus on early reading intervention, so elementary reading. And I had the opportunity in the elementary school. My first school was Dr. Edwin E. Weeks in Syracuse, New York. It was an inner city school. And we were a school that served actually part of a middle school. So we were able to do elementary to middle school. So I was able to be with upper level students, but also help support reading as well. But I primarily was an art teacher. So I went from elementary art, and then an opening came up, and I really was focused on, I think I'm just going to be an elementary reading specialist. So I was headed down that path, and I had my first child, and I was finishing my master's degree. And we were commuting about an hour into the city, and it was a lot of time being away as a mom, a young
Yeah.
mom. And I realized I couldn't do that commute and sacrifice 2 hours a day that I could be with my daughter. So there was a job that came up at a high school, Phoenix High School, in a small rural community in upstate New York. So I was able to jump into the high school level. So some of the needs are the
Okay.
same from elementary to high school students, and some are
Yes.
different. So that's when I started high school.
Yes. You know, it is so interesting because people often say, like or I think maybe think until you do it, like how it's so different, but it's actually so similar, right? There's a lot of real like similarities in structures and, how you engage kiddos, just the language shifts and
Right.
the rigor and the complexity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And shed some light, if you will, for us on, what inspired you to go into education in the first place?
This is a $1,000,000 question, right? Well, I'm going to start with a story that's not so positive, but I think a little bit about me. I'm wired as a fire. I have a fire internally burning all the time, and I don't know where that came from. Nurture or nature, I'm not sure. And when I was in high school, I was very naive to college. So I felt that when we were growing up in high school, the upper echelon of clientele were teachers' kids. And I was not that. My dad dropped out of high school in actually 8th grade. He never went to high school, never completed his high school
Okay.
diploma. And my mom did what we call nowadays the CTE track, or back east, it's BOCES track. Out here, it's career tech ed track out west. And she got her nursing degree. So really, college was not a conversation at a dinner table. But I was an athlete. I loved school. I loved everything about school because it was a safe place for me. And I could be guaranteed to get food and attention and support with coaches and my teachers. So college was not part of the vocabulary in our vernacular. And I remember vividly, I was in high school and we were getting ready for a soccer game. And so a bunch of my friends went to the guidance office during lunch. We were all in our soccer gear. And I remember quite distinctly going into the counseling office, and my friends were talking about SAT application. This was back before internet or computers, and you had to do snail mail and mail in a ballot to, or not a ballot, but your all your material to get an entrance certificate to the SAT exam, and you had to drive an hour for the closest SAT. So I had no idea what it was, and my friend said, "Well, that's what you need to do. You need to take a test to get into college." And I'm like, "Oh, I might try college." And so we go down to the guidance counseling during lunch, and we're all, like, thinking about the game that night. And the high school counselor, saw us all coming in, and the school psychologists were talking, and they were all in the little bins kind of on the wall taking the application material that
Yeah.
we did, and stuffed them in my hand, and we were all ready to walk out, and the high school counselor, at the time said, "Do you have a minute?" I'm like, "Sure." We were headed to lunch before the bell rang to get our stuff, and he took the material out of my hand and placed it on the secretary's desk. And he said, "Why don't you come with me for a minute?" And he said, "This is college application stuff. Do you know anything about college?" And I'm like, "Not really." And he said, "You're not college material. It's not for you, but here's an application to Rod's Big M." So he gave me the application to the
I
grocery
was
store.
afraid this is where your story
Yeah.
was going.
Yep,
Yeah.
Mr. Pierce. And so
Oh,
I
boy.
remember looking at him going like, "I don't know anything about college, but you basically can't tell me what to do. Like,
Mhm.
why would you do that?" So the fighter in me was like, "I don't know about college. I don't know how I can afford it, but you can't be the one that tells me what I do or don't do." So
Right.
I tell that story to kids, especially students that are in AVID program, which is an advancement via individual determination program for first
Yes.
generation college kids. And they'll look at me and they'll say, "Well, look at you. You're the school superintendent or principal or what teacher, and you're telling us the story, but didn't that make you mad?" And I said, "Yeah, when I was younger, it made me mad. But what happens if Mr. Pierce didn't say that to me? No one was there to tell me I couldn't do it. So it was my choice to not do it,
Right.
right? But he told me I couldn't do it. So then it was my choice to say, yes, I can watch me." So yeah, that's how I got to college. It was a wake up call when I got there. But I also had teachers that inspired me that were good humans. Miss Campbell, she was my art teacher in high school. She was somebody she would call in sick when I was home from college so I could sub for her.
Oh.
Call me and say, "I'm going to be sick on these 2 days. Will you come sub for me?" So she was fantastic, and I was able to visit her before she passed away. Um, and she was just a dear woman. She would come to my soccer games and basketball games with her basset hound and her dad. And so she was inspirational to me. I also had some coaches that were pretty inspirational to me in my life. And I think when I think about the bad rap that public schools get, I wonder how many people that are looking at it from a different angle had a different experience, had a negative experience, and they're carrying that with them. When there's so many stories like mine of teachers or coaches or mentors that made such a significant impact on the lives and the trajectory of students. So
Exactly. And this show is all about champions of public education because those stories are not told
they are
often
not
enough.
told. We only hear the bad stories, and
Yeah.
there's so many remarkable everyday decisions. Teachers, bus drivers, food service workers, custodians make every day that impact. One word, one sentence, one belief about a child that makes a difference their entire life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And oftentimes they don't even realize the impact that they're having. And, sometimes it may feel thankless, but it's big. It's
It is
huge.
huge. It was for me, and I know there's many, cut paste. There's so many other people like me that are superintendents that have a story similar.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there is something about like, I'll show you. I will show you. Oh, really? Okay. I'll show you.
Unfortunately, Wendy, I've never let that go. That is something I think I will die having a fighter flight spirit in me, but it
Yeah.
serves me well for most of my career, I think.
That's great, good. And let's talk about, Oak Harbor Public Schools and, when you stepped into the role as superintendent, where was your district?
Well, they just came out of COVID, so that's a whole nother podcast. You probably had many of those. And unfortunately, COVID, we lost a lot of great leaders in the system, from teachers to classified staff. because it was hard, and I think we're still trying to recover. So I came into Oak Harbor from another district as a superintendent, on the east side of the state of Washington, another rural community, and, COVID was hard for everybody, and I think the problem with COVID, there was really no one to blame. It was an epidemic, and so there was still a lot of people that were blamed in the process, and it's the repairing the relationship. So I was able to come in, to Oak Harbor, and I came in brand new, brought in a brand new communication, well, not, she wasn't brand new, new to the state, communication specialist who's phenomenal, and we came in new together with an HR director, also new, and so I had kind of a new team that came in and then some legacy people that were here, and we were able to really come in fresh, I think, after COVID, which was helpful because when you're coming in new to a system, you get to listen and learn.
Yeah.
So when I came in really listening and learning from the community. I also came in with what are some things in my first superintendent experience that worked well for me? And what are some things I can do differently as a result of learning from them? Because we all have
Okay.
good, bad, and indifferent. Oak Harbor at the time had no strategic plan. It was over 20 years old.
Okay.
So while we had taglines, we didn't really have a vision for who we were together on behalf of kids. So I came in and the first, literally July 1st on the job, nobody's here working. It's me, the new communications person, new HR person. And we went around and I just listened to people in the community. And I asked
Okay.
a couple questions. I literally went to soccer games and saw kids downtown and at restaurants and, out playing soccer in the street, and went and met with city council and representatives, of businesses in the community. I asked a couple questions. I asked, what are they most excited or proud about, being here in Oak Harbor? We're a big military community, so we have many families that come and go here, very transient community. I asked what's something they would change or improve if they were me? And then what's something that's important for me to know about them, either personally or professionally? And the
Okay.
last question actually was a fourth, but it was, who are 3 people you think I should talk to?
Tell us, what did you learn? Some of the themes or
Yeah.
messages that you took away?
So, what a unique community this is. So, just to give context, we're on an island 60 miles long. You can get here from bridge or ferry. There's no direct drive other than across the bridge or the ferry on the other end. We are the largest school district of 55, about 5,500 students, of 3 school districts on the island. And what people will tell you is that, we are on an island. We have to come together and work together. And we can't work in isolation. The school district can't be in isolation from the community partners because we do not have indoor facilities. Our schools are the only huge community space. So people use our schools. So how do we think about working together? And in my head, I was thinking, wow, this is like one town, one team, one high school. Like,
Yeah.
it's one community. So we are one Oak Harbor. Like, we have to work together on behalf of our children because we all share our kids, whether you're a coach in the community, a business partner, you're hiring some of our kids as part-time work. So that's where was born the hashtag One Oak Harbor. So it takes all of us to work together for our students. And then we built a strategic plan. We brought
Okay.
in, the following year, I brought in a ton of community members, many that I'd met through my entry plan into the community. And we brought them all in and brought some of those questions we were able to craft and duplicate on a large scale to our parents, to our students, to our employees, to our business partners, real estate agents, people new to the community, and our big partner is NAS Would-Be. And so we were able to duplicate all of that, bring them together, and then come up with our strategic plan grounded in student voice. And we
Okay.
started with students, asking them what's important for us to know, like in the classroom academics, what helps you succeed, what gets in the way of your learning, and be specific. And then came up with our themes around student voice at the beginning and our work and accountability through a theory of action. And at the very end, we brought it back to our students and said, did we hear you? Is this what you need from us as One Oak Harbor to help you be successful? And they said, yes, we love it. And so we brought it to our school board and they adopted it.
Okay, that's awesome. And so where are you now? What progress have you all made since recovering and in the recovery stages of the
Yeah.
pandemic and
Well,
implementation of your plan?
we have a plan. It's not a piece of paper. It's living and breathing so much so that some of our goals we've already met in the strategic plan, and others were like, "Ooh, we should probably redefine that." So we are sharpening our pencil on our strategic plan this year. We have a profile of a graduate, and my challenge is if we have a profile of what a graduate is to graduate from Oak Harbor Public Schools, then what is a profile of a leader? What is a profile of a
Yes.
community member? What is a profile of an employee, an
Right.
educator. So that's something we'll be working on building this year, and also student voice panels. Like, how do we make elevating student voice a practice in our community? I just talked to the mayor last week. He wants to bring 2 students in to city council. We have students that sit on our board, on our committee work. How do we bring students in to ground our conversations with students at the table? So that's a lot of our work this year. And then the other one is coherence. Like, we have to work together, and you can't do all the things, but what are we going to do really deeply and really well and
Yeah.
be aligned in coherence, push on each other's thinking, but let go of the things that don't matter and stick with deeply the things that matter the most to us.
Yeah. And what have you figured that part out yet? Like where your focus is going to be in the coming school year?
Yeah, we're really looking at our academic focus. We have really good data on belonging. Our kids feel really a sense of pride, which is amazing for transient community because of the military. We do
Yeah.
a really good job of welcoming students into our
Okay.
community because we do it all the time because people come and go a lot. And they have a high sense of belonging. Our belonging data for students is pretty remarkable. And while we make kids feel good and they feel like they have a sense of belonging, how do we push on the rigor in the system and push on the academic piece? So, can we have high belonging, high um, academic outcomes, and high support all at the same time? So, that'll be our work this year, and in particular, really looking in the areas of math. It's
Okay.
something that we have got to really dig deeply on our practices. And then through the teaching and learning realm, we have brought incredible educators within our community, our Grow Your Own. We've got such talented staff, even our classified staff. And we have loving staff. Our bus drivers dress up as superheroes or characters, and they're just amazing. The culture is really palpable about One Oak Harbor and a sense of belonging. So, how do we think about that same energy in the academic world when things start getting hard,
Yeah.
that you can still love learning and be okay in a safe place? So, bringing those together.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds wonderful. Yes, okay. And so is part of what you mentioned in, your work in around coherence, we know one of the pieces is that collaborative culture. What are some of the structures and processes that you all have in place in Oak Harbor to support collaboration amongst teachers and leaders?
That's a really good question. And I know as an educator, Wendy, we call it professional development, right? Like, what are our professional development opportunities? We have, thanks to our communities for their understanding, we're able to do early release Mondays. So our students leave early, and then we were able to really dig into the strategic plan through the 4 goal areas of academics and belonging and inclusion. And so we're really getting focused on what does that look like in terms of instructional practices in the classroom. Last year, we started unpacking the standards. Like, we don't teach curriculum, we teach the standards. And through the standards, what are the instructional materials and supports that we are aligned and coherent on through the system? Especially if a kid is in a ninth grade biology class, for example, and you have different teachers, you can have different classroom cultures, different activities, but the standards and what you are guaranteed to leave with should be the same. So we're
Absolutely.
doing the vertical and horizontal alignment for the next couple of years. That's what we're looking at. So we're doing proficiency scales, um, doing curriculum mapping, and unpacking our resources that teachers need to support, and including what's the professional development now that we have common standards and alignment. What is the next steps professional development that they need to support the work, including our classified staff as well.
Yeah, it's right up my alley. I mean, these are the pieces that these are the pieces that bring it all together. Like, how do
Yes.
you focus your direction and cultivate that collaborative culture while deepening learning and then securing accountability internally, so then the
Yes.
external measures come, right? Yes, I'm big fan of Michael Fullen and Joanne Quinn's work around
Yeah.
coherence.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The other piece I'm just curious about is what different because, there's a lot to be said for having experienced, education as a student and as a teacher and a leader in one state and another. Like, what are some of the similarities or big differences that you
Well, so from my lens as both an educator and an administrator from state to state, I think 2 things. One is I think what a great opportunity to learn all the things that work for you and all the things that don't work for you, and take the very best of the best, right? Also, it's allowed me to see systems differently. If you are in an in a district, for example, and you've only been in that district, I think you can get trapped in the knowledge that is around you, and it's really hard to grasp on other ways to do things without taking it
Yeah.
personally. Right. So how do we open up people's understanding and ideas about doing things differently doesn't mean it's a judgment call against you. It's about making the system easier and more efficient from a business, technical side of the house, but the adaptive side of the house is developing the why around why we're making changes, right? So understanding, it's not just because I've decided to do it, but here's the reasons why this would be better if we were to look into adapting our systems or changing our beliefs around this. So I think there's
Right.
the joy in that. I think the second part of it has been, I say two things. I say, this isn't about me, so I don't take my work personal.
Yeah.
But it is up to me. It is up to me to speak on behalf of kids and make sure that when it comes to systems that work and systems that don't work, being okay to say, we've been doing that for a year and it's just not working. So let's toss it versus I know it's not working, but it is the stick with itness we need to follow through on this. So there's that element of it. The other one is speaking on behalf of our students. When I say we're a transient community, a lot of our military families, they have more experiences in the system than we do as adults. The kids have learned how to navigate from state to state, country to country. A lot of our kids come from overseas. They are our global citizens. So when we sit
Wow.
and we talk to them about, well, in another country, they've already lived it. So we have to really bring in their expertise as students in the classroom and in the culture and honor that and be aware that they're the ones sitting and navigating the system. The adults aren't. The bell rings, we keep teaching the same thing, but they're traveling from class to class, grade to grade, and they're the experts on where the holes are in our system. So why do we not listen more to kids to say, what are we getting right and what are we getting wrong?
Yeah, that is so insightful. I am so grateful that you shared because yes, you explained, but I had not thought about that. And you're right. They probably, many of them have more, more experience in different parts of the world than the adults in the
They
system.
do. Yes. So we can learn a lot from them.
Sure. And I just, I haven't heard or had many guests or any guests specifically mention that on the show. Not that they, don't use that information or, not that yeah, I'm sure they are aware, but it is also possible that some haven't thought about that in terms of, even if they're not necessarily a community that a military community, how many of the kids in their system may have that background and may have those experiences, right? So being very aware of that, I think that's really insightful.
Yeah, we've done a couple day in the life. So I've talked to our students and they will explain to me in our coffee council. We do student voice panels in all of our schools. And I'll ask them, they'll bring up things that we're not aware of because we don't sit in the desk all day long, right? We're moving, we're in and out, we're visiting. And they'll say things and I'm like, I never even thought about that because I'm not sitting in their like literally and figuratively, I'm not sitting in their world. I
Yeah.
should. So I've done a couple times where I've sat a day with them and traveled with them from class to class and class to
Yeah.
class, and the things are just amazing what you can observe as an adult being a kid for the day. And then not just like, your 4.0 kid. We've picked kids that struggle to come to school and go and shadow
Yeah.
them for a day and have conversations with them about, wow, tell me more about you get what? You get 1 day to do what? So I think
Yeah.
that's the awareness piece is if we don't listen to them, then be them for a day or 2 and put yourself back in the learning mode of being a student because 'cause they're our client. They're our
Right.
customer. We work for students.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just want to shed some light on that for our audience because I could not agree more. It is so eye-opening and you can learn so much as an adult by really, getting into their experience, into their world inside of a classroom or, a learning environment as closely as possible. I'm thinking of taking some teams, of administrators or even teachers on learning rounds and asking folks to shift their focus from what the teacher is doing or saying to what the kids are experiencing, trying to really understand what are they thinking, what are they saying, what are they doing, and like we're not going to clump in the back. we're gonna get close and appropriately close, but, like, if they're on the carpet, let's get down near the carpet. We
Yes.
can really experience the learning the way they are and be able to see and hear what they're doing
And stick
and
with it for a
saying.
while, right? Because if you just
Yeah,
did it for 20 minutes, it's one thing, but to
sure.
spend a whole day, including eating lunch and how you line up for buses, and you're starting to say, "Those things don't make sense," but we're asking kids to do that. Why are we asking kids to do that?
Yeah, yeah. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, to spend the whole day. Yeah.
We have when we started our strategic plan and we asked kids what they wanted, and then we went to work, interviewing the community to say, how do we make these things a reality? How do we turn these student experiences into accountability measures, goal areas? And we have three prongs in our strategic plan that came right from kids. And it's the foundation of our entire strategic plan. And it's our student vision experience. So we say there's three things that we always ask kids. And it's the first one is, are they valued and understood? So if they walk away from our school, whether they're here for 3 years or 7 years, or they come and go, because a lot of our military families get
Yeah.
PCS and then they come back, it's like, I am valued and understood. Like as a student, that's what we want every kid to feel when they're walking through our classrooms, whether they're in our preschool program or all the way up to the age 22 program. They can take risks in their learning, right? And then they can succeed academically. That means that they can take risks without feeling like a failure. It's okay to fall. We got you. We're going to pick you back up. You
Yeah.
got to work hard through this. I know you can do it. And the other one is that one Oak Harbor is Oak Harbor believes in me and my future. So as a students, it's not just about the school district does this, but the community does that. Like we are one community. We're on an island, like I said. We're one Oak Harbor. So how do we work together to make sure our kids are supported? Because when we have one high school and one high school town, everybody graduates that student from pastors to
Yeah.
mentors to coaches to a swim instructor, right? To your first employer, to your neighbor that you mowed lawn for, and suddenly they've taken you under their wing. This is what it means when Oak Harbor believes in our students, and our students walk across the stage. It's not just the high school that graduates them; it's our entire community that celebrates them.
It truly is. Yeah. I can imagine that. And I'd certainly love to visit. I'm just also imagining because I think I shared with you that I'm joining you from Fort Worth, Texas, and
I'm sure you're right
it's
now.
the weather's pretty mild today. But yeah, it's hot, but I'm imagining it's just gorgeous and mild in terms
It is
of.
mild, a little foggy and overcast today, but
Okay,
definitely,
all right.
yeah.
Yeah, so where could someone go if they wanna learn more, if they are looking for a new place to call home, looking for a new place to send their kiddos to school, or, looking for a new, place to serve as a teacher or leader? Where
Ooh,
can they
I
go to learn
love
more?
that. So our website is ohst.net, Oak Harbor School District. We also have a Facebook and an Instagram, so you can see all of that on our webpage if you're interested. We also have an email address on our website, so you can go on at the briefs and you can just give us your story or experience. And if you are an alumni listening, we love alumni shout outs. And we like to find them and invite them back to tell their story on our website to share their experiences as well as a student that walked through the halls or a teacher and educator.
That sounds great. Yes, I hope you get more alumni that do that because that is the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's amazing when they can talk about, what an impact a specific educator or bus driver. For me, it was Mrs. Dana, bus number 62. She was my, bus driver forever. A shout out to Mrs. Dana's family. But, I can point back to all those people that made a difference in my life. So if you have those stories and you're an Oak Harbor grad or a teacher or lived in our community, we'd love to hear your story as well. We are always looking for talented people that are dedicated to students.
Yeah, okay. Now, Mrs. Dean, you wove that in so nicely, and I do want to make sure that you honor and recognize, someone that's had a positive impact. So you said Mrs. Dean, your bus
Mrs.
driver
Dana.
was a.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, she
okay.
was
Will
my bus
you tell
driver.
us a little bit more about her? And
Oh my gosh. Well, she was funny. I also think she knew a lot about our family just because she would, I think bus drivers are the one that knows the most about your family. That's why I
uh,
like doing ride-alongs on buses, is that they pull in, they see the families in their slippers or their coffee, or dad's home from work for the past 6 months. He must be out of
yeah,
work, right? And Mrs. Dana would pull in our driveway. We grew up on a little farm. And our duck would sometimes chase us on the bus. So she would open up the bus with her broom and she would chase the duck all the way, off the bus. And then in the winter, when I was in sports, it's a good thing the school board members are probably no longer alive, but, um, we would often get stuck in a ditch in the snow. And Mrs. Dana would say, "All right, everybody out. Let's get the bus out of the ditch." And we would rock the bus, 1, 2, 3, and we'd get it out of the ditch, up back on the bus. But she was just that person that gave you the extra smile or tap or smile and made your day, starting the day and ending my day with her was great. So
Yeah, okay. Mrs. Dana, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle Kuss-Cybula, for being on our show today. It's been a pleasure to learn more about Oak Harbor and get to know you a bit.
great. Wendy, thank you so much and for all that you do to honor and celebrate educators and incredible leaders in public schools. We need more stories like that.
Oh, you're welcome. And that'll be a wrap, everyone. Till next
Thank
time.
you, Wendy.
Thank you for joining us on Unlock 360. If this conversation sparked new thinking, share it with a colleague and keep the dialogue going in your school district. Public education is complex work, and progress happens when leadership and teaching move together. I'm Wendy York Davoud. Until next time, keep building the systems that unlock what's possible, because strong leadership drives deeper learning.